roaring fighter jet performing jaw-dropping stunts at an air show. Thousands of spectators cheering in awe until everything goes horribly wrong. Within seconds, the sky turns into a scene of chaos. What caused this catastrophic moment? Could it have been avoided? Today, we uncover the chilling truth behind the deadliest airshow disaster in history. The Sknyliv airshow disaster, the deadliest in history, occurred on July 27, 2002, at the Sknyliv airfield near Lviv, Ukraine. A Ukrainian Air Force Sukhoi Su-27UB, piloted by Volodymyr Toponar of the Ukrainian Falcons and co-piloted by Yuri Yegorov, was performing an aerobics routine when tragedy struck. During a complex maneuver, the jet lost control, spiraled downward, and crashed into a densely packed crowd of spectators. The horrifying impact claimed the lives of 77 people, including 28 children, and left 543 others injured, some with life-altering wounds. The accident was attributed to a combination of pilot error, poor planning, and inadequate safety measures. The Sknyliv Air Show, a fatal aerobatic maneuver gone wrong. The Sknyliv Air Show, held on July 27, 2002, near Lviv, Ukraine, was intended to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Ukrainian Air Force's 14th Air Corps and drew over 10,000 spectators. What began as a day of aerial celebration turned into the deadliest airshow disaster in history. At 12:52 p.m., a Sukhoi Su-27UB aircraft, piloted by two seasoned aviators, Volodymyr Toponar and Yuri Yegorov, entered a rolling maneuver. The jet was flying at low altitude with a sharp downward trajectory. As it rolled upright during its descent, the left wing dropped suddenly, leaving the aircraft on a collision course with the ground. Realizing the imminent danger, the pilots initiated an ejection sequence just moments before impact. Moments before disaster, the fatal miscalculation of the Sknyliv Air Show. The Sknyliv Air Show started off smoothly, with the Su-27 soaring gracefully through the air as pilots Volodymyr Toponar and Yuri Yegorov executed their aerobatic maneuvers with precision. The crowd marveled at the flawless displays of aerial skill, unaware that disaster was looming. Trouble first emerged when the pilots attempted a half-barrel roll. In the middle of the maneuver, both engines unexpectedly lost thrust, causing a sharp decrease in speed and altitude, flying at just 200 meters above the ground. The pilots struggled to recover control of the aircraft. They had been preparing to pull up into a loop when a critical miscalculation occurred. The flight plan, which was supposed to guide them along a safe route parallel to the crowd, had not matched the actual layout of the airfield. As a result, instead of staying a safe distance from the spectators, the plane was now headed straight toward a large group of onlookers. Toponar and Yegorov fought to regain control of the plane as it continued to plummet. The Su-27 briefly leveled out, skimming just above the tree line in a desperate attempt to avert disaster. Despite their best efforts, it was clear that the situation was rapidly deteriorating. As the aircraft descended further, the left wing clipped a tree branch, throwing the jet off course. The plane veered uncontrollably toward the ground, its trajectory now inevitably heading for the crowd. The crash, a catastrophic moment. In a split second, the situation went from dire to catastrophic, with the Su-27 descending uncontrollably toward the crowd. Co-pilot Yuri Yegorov made the fateful decision to pull the ejection toggle. In a desperate bid for survival, both pilots were violently catapulted from the cockpit as the aircraft plummeted toward the airfield. The Su-27, now out of control, continued its deadly descent. It cartwheeled violently across the airfield, its fuselage tumbling across the ground. In a tragic turn of events, the jet slammed into a parked Ilyushin Il-76 transport plane, igniting a massive explosion that engulfed the wreckage in a towering fireball. The flames spread quickly, fueled by the jet's own volatile fuel supply. As the inferno consumed the aircraft, debris and flaming shrapnel rained down on the unsuspecting crowd of spectators. Panic erupted as people scrambled to escape the chaos, only to be met with further dangers. A section of barbed wire fencing was torn free by the force of the crash and dragged violently across the airfield, adding to the confusion and destruction. The once festive airshow turned into a scene from a nightmare. The ground was littered with wreckage, human remains, and debris. Families that had come to enjoy a day of aerial acrobatics were torn apart by the violence of the crash. The scale of the devastation was unimaginable, and the Sknyliv airshow would be forever remembered as the deadliest airshow disaster in history. A devastating loss and questions of safety. The devastating Sknyliv airshow disaster claimed the lives of 77 spectators, including 28 children, on July 27, 2002. Remarkably, both pilots, Volodymyr Toponar and Yuri Yegorov, survived with only minor injuries. The impact of the tragedy was staggering, with 543 individuals injured. Among them, hundreds suffered severe trauma, such as head injuries, burns, and fractures, requiring hospitalization, while many injuries were less critical and treated on site. The psychological toll on survivors and witnesses was profound. Some bystanders developed serious mental disorders, haunted by the harrowing scenes they had witnessed. In the aftermath, the pilots claimed discrepancies between the flight map they received and the actual airfield layout. This claim was supported by cockpit voice recordings, where one pilot is heard asking, "And where are our spectators?" Critics argue this confusion may have contributed to the tragedy. However, other analyses suggest the pilots failed to respond promptly to automated warnings issued by the aircraft's flight computer. This delay in reacting to critical systems has led to ongoing debates over whether human error or miscommunication played a larger role in the disaster. The incident sparked widespread condemnation and prompted urgent reviews of airshow safety protocols. Investigations highlighted lapses in planning, including inadequate separation between the performance area and spectators. These findings emphasize the necessity for stricter regulations to prevent future tragedies. Investigation and aftermath. On August 7th, an investigation led by Yevhen Marchuk, Ukraine's National Security and Defense Secretary, concluded that the pilots were largely responsible for the Sknyliv airshow disaster. Marchuk's report criticized pilots Volodymyr Toponar and Yuri Yegorov for failing to adhere to the flight plan and properly executing aerial maneuvers. The investigation also highlighted the role of the event organizers, suggesting that they allowed dangerous stunts to be performed too close to spectators. Marchuk's findings placed significant blame on the pilots for their actions during the flight. However, Toponar strongly disagreed with the conclusions. He argued that technical malfunctions, coupled with an incorrect flight plan, were the true causes of the crash. Toponar also revealed that he had requested an additional training flight at the airfield where the display was set to take place, but his request was denied, which he felt may have contributed to the lack of preparation for the performance. The fallout from the tragedy extended to the Ukrainian government. President Leonid Kuchma publicly blamed the military for the disaster in response to the incident. Kuchma dismissed General Viktor Strelnikov, the head of the Ukrainian Air Force. Minister of Defense Volodymyr Shkidchenko also offered his resignation in the aftermath of the disaster. However, President Kuchma rejected the resignation, signaling the ongoing political and military tensions following the catastrophic event. Legal consequences and controversial verdict. On June 24, 2005, a military court in Ukraine handed down sentences to the two pilots involved in the Sknyliv airshow disaster. Pilot Volodymyr Toponar was sentenced to 14 years in prison, while his co-pilot, Yuri Yegorov, received an 8-year sentence. The court found both pilots guilty of failing to follow flight orders, gross negligence, and violating aviation rules. In addition to their prison terms, the pilots were ordered to pay significant compensation to the victims' families. Toponar was instructed to pay approximately $1.4 million, while Yegorov was ordered to pay $1.4 million. 3 other military officials were also convicted in connection with the crash. Two of the officials were sentenced to prison terms of up to 6 years, while the third received a 4-year sentence. The crew's main flight trainer, however, was acquitted due to insufficient evidence against him. Toponar, rejecting the court's decision, vowed to appeal the verdict. He maintained that the crash resulted from technical malfunctions and an incorrect flight plan, not pilot error. His insistence on a flawed flight plan was a central part of his defense, arguing that the accident could have been avoided if proper procedures and precautions had been followed. In 2008, a decree by President Viktor Yushchenko reduced Yegorov's sentence to 3.5 years, leading to his release. Despite the legal consequences, controversy still surrounds the case, with ongoing debates about the true cause of the disaster and the extent of responsibility shared by the pilots, officials, and event organizers. Toponar's last defense, reasserting innocence in the Sknyliv disaster. As he neared the end of his prison sentence, Volodymyr Toponar maintained his innocence in the Sknyliv airshow disaster, asserting that the incident was the result of external factors rather than pilot error. In a phone interview, he emphasized that the parameters given during the mission briefing showed that the flight area was dangerously close to spectators, a violation of safety protocols. From the mission briefing, it is obvious that the flight area parameters we were given significantly exceeded the safe margin of separation from spectators, he explained. He firmly stated that such a close proximity to the crowd was the fault of the event organizers. Planes must not fly over spectators, he insisted. Toponar also discussed technical issues that occurred during the flight, which he believed contributed to the disaster. According to his account, during the half-barrel maneuver, he noticed a decrease in engine thrust and a corresponding drop in airspeed. Despite these anomalies, the ground control continued to give the order to proceed with the flight. During the last maneuver, an oblique loop with a turn, the plane became uncontrollable, he recalled, explaining the sequence of events leading to the crash. Contrary to claims made during the trial that the crash was due to pilot error and inexperience, Toponar pointed out that he had 27 years of flying experience and 2,000 hours of flight time, including being a member of the Ukrainian Falcons aerobatic team. He added, "To the last, I struggled to lift the plane, but co-pilot Yuri Yegorov hit the catapult, and we too ejected from our seats." Toponar's words remain a testament to his belief that the cause of the disaster was not his own fault. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.